Also, before I get talking about what we're going to be covering today, um, uh, if you have a question along the way, you're going to need to use the raise hand feature because, as I said, we have over 60 people, so we have multiple screens and we can't see everybody. So, to access the raise hand feature, you need to go down to the toolbar and you can click on what is it? Reactions, I think. Either it says raise hand or it says reactions. It's like the smiley face or a heart icon. And then you should be able to see raise hand. Okay. Um, so today's tech talk is all about photos. Marilyn is going to cover the topics that are at the top of this list. She's going to deal a lot with your smartphone, photos on phones, um, changing settings. If you have an iPhone, your photos might be in an HEIC format, and don't worry about what that acronym means. Marilyn may cover that. How to change that, adding photos to newsletters using Pages, screenshots using a Mac, things like that. Okay. I deal more with the PCs. And so I'm going to talk about the snipping tool, which is the easiest way to grab any kind of a graphic off, off the internet or off your screen. Posting graphics and images to Facebook. Some of you have Facebook accounts. You might want to learn how to do that. I'll cover conversion, again, of photos from one form to another, opening and editing photos using, I use Microsoft Photos. Many of the apps are very similar. Adding photos to newsletters, using Word and Publisher. I'm going to show you the difference on dealing with photos in both of those. And putting photos on a division website. So if you're a division web manager.
Deborah, thank you for calling. I am on the.
And I'm going to show you how to do a photo collage. Okay. In case you want to do that, I add a photo collage to each of my newsletters, and they're kind of fun. They're kind of fun. So I am now going to get out and stop sharing, and Marilyn's going to start us off. Good morning, Marilyn.
Good morning. Let's see if I can do this right.
And please turn off your video cameras and mute your microphones. Thank you.
Where do I want to be? I guess I'll just leave it right there. I'm going to be able to put my phone, believe it or not, on the screen. So let me try that right now. See what I have to do. Okay. I'm obviously talking about iPhones, but the same kinds of things go for whatever kind of phone you may use. I know Samsung has a lot of very similar commands and settings. Undoubtedly, Google and other phones do too. So even though I'm talking about iPhones, please consider them rather generically. Let me see if I can get rid of this background.
You could, yeah.
I'll just leave it there. Okay. I don't know if that's any better or not. The first thing I want to make sure everybody understands, no matter what kind of phone you're using, is to be sure that you're keeping up with updates. On iPhones, they're called iOS updates. It means iPhone operating system. Every phone has an operating system. Every computer, every iPad, they all have operating systems. And so you want to keep up with them. The primary reason for keeping up with operating systems is because of the security patches that these companies are constantly having to put in them. Because hackers, wherever the heck they are, China, Philippines, wherever, and in the US, obviously, they're always trying to figure out ways to get into our phones. And if you think, oh, I'm just one little person, our phones are rich for them. So we need the security updates from the companies that make these phones. So please make sure you keep yours updated every time an update comes out. How can you tell? Well, on an iPhone, you go into settings, and in general, and here you'll see software update. And if you click on that, it tells you whether it's up to date or not. Mine happens to be. 18.3, I have read in different articles, is supposed to come out in a week or two, maybe January, who knows. But you want to make sure that this is update. If it's not up to date, then make it up to date. And it's primarily for those security patches that you want to do that. Okay, settings, software update, and then you'll find out what you have. Let's see. When we talk about photos and their formats, we're talking about you hear JPEG most of all, I think. There are various formats, usually JPEG, but there's also PNG, there's HEIG, HEIC, and some others. Also in settings and on an iPhone, this is where you'd find it, and undoubtedly in other phones as well. You go into settings and you go down to camera, and these are pretty much set up when you get your phone. But you want to go down to formats. High efficiency, HEIC, I have no idea what the IC stands for, don't care. High efficiency, HE, high efficiency, that's usually the default. When you buy a new iPhone, or if somebody has given you an iPhone that they haven't changed the settings on, this is going to be selected. And this format takes the greatest photos you'll ever see. They're so crisp, so clear. But if you send those in HEIC format to whoever's doing, let's say, your newsletter, or maybe photos for your division's website's photo carousel, it may or may not be compatible, usually not. So the best thing you can do if you're going to be sending photos like that for those purposes is to change it from high efficiency to most compatible. And there's a little explanation here in tiny print that tells you that most compatible is JPEG. It'll either be JPEG or JPG, doesn't matter, but it's giving you an explanation here. And that's the primary thing you need to do, especially if you're sending photos for newsletters or using photos for newsletters. And Sue is going to show you, if you receive any in high efficiency, Sue's going to show you how you can convert those. Okay.
There's a question, Marilyn. If you have an iPad and it says that you don't have enough room to update, what are you supposed to do? Enough space?
I've run into that. Yeah, you have to go into, let me check and see if I can figure out where it is. You go into settings. And, I'm not gonna, let's write that question down and I can find the answer. And
Yeah, all of the questions that are in chat, folks, we will respond to all of those and address those to make sure that, so when we send out stuff after the training, you'll get all of these answers. Okay. So if we don't answer them right now, while we're doing the training, we'll answer them when we send out all of the follow-up materials.
Okay, so those are the only two things that I have, unless somebody else has questions about things you need to control in settings regarding photos. Keep it up to date, and depending on your use, you'll want to know the difference between high efficiency and most compatible, which is basically JPEG.
And on the HEIC format, by the way, folks, remember that's just iPhones. Okay, if you have an Android, they
Right.
don't take HEIC photos.
Right.
Those are automatically JPEGs,
Yeah.
which can be used everywhere. The
Right.
HEIC, by the way, are actually mini videos. They're actually little videos. Okay. And that's why you can't stick them in newsletters and things like that. They have to be converted, and I will show you how to convert them. Okay. So you're going to have to hang on until I do my part.
Okay. On an iPhone and also Samsung and all the rest, there's a Photos app. It's where all the photos are stored once you take them, or if you do screenshots, or if you take videos. They're all stored in the Photos app. And if you have updated, I think it started with iOS 18, and then it got worse with 18.1, and it stayed the same in 18.2. Apple did something everybody's screaming about with the Photos app. They made it hugely complicated, and they didn't really need to do that, but they did it anyway. So I'm going to show you what they look like. Here are all these photos, 3,000 and however many photos I've got up here. Some of them are screenshots, most are photos. But if you go down, you can see all the different categories that Apple thought I needed. And it drove me nuts. First time I saw that, I almost cried, because I don't want to deal with things like this. I just want to see the photos and be able to pick things. And I can find photos because there's a date. I can either go down here and choose years, or I can choose months, or I can simply scroll up. But I don't want to deal with all the rest of this stuff down here. So if you've discovered that for yourself and you don't want to deal with it either, there's one way to simplify it. It doesn't take it totally away, but it simplifies it. You go all the way to the bottom, scroll all the way down, and click on this down here, customize and reorder. And when you do that, this shows you why all those different things are showing up. And the suggestion that was made in an article, and I followed it, and it makes things much better, is to uncheck everything except media types. Does that mean you can't find these again? No, it just means they're not going to show up the first time every time you go into photos. So once you've done that, then it's a whole lot more. The photos are all there, and all you've got at the bottom is this stuff. And you can go back into all these if you want. You can go back into customize and reorder if you want one of those to show up. Let's say you want trips and media types to show up, or people and pets, especially if you've got grandkids that you've named or hearted. So you can check as many of these as you want. I keep them all off except that, because I can find the others whenever I want. And then you just click the X, and then it's manageable. And go back and it's just photos, and a few screenshots. Okay, any questions up to that point?
No, I think it looks like we're good.
Okay. When you're going to take photos for, let's start with the one that's really picky. When you're going to take photos that you want to use for your division website's photo carousel, you need to make sure that you're taking them horizontally. You hold the camera this way, not this way. Okay,
Way, not which way.
so that you hold the camera sideways, horizontally. That's called landscape, not vertically or the way you normally hold the phone when you're talking in it. So when you take the photos, make sure, and you can discuss it with your newsletter editor. They may or may not care whether they're vertical or horizontal. I like luncheon photos that are horizontal because usually the horizontal photos show more people in the room. But that's pretty much up in the air. But for your photo carousel, they must be horizontal. They must be. A lot of people ask how to share photos from the phone to your computer. That's one of the questions we get a lot. How can I get photos from my phone to my computer? And the easiest way is simply to email them to yourself. Where's the one I chose? There it is. The easiest way, if you're sharing it with somebody else who also has an iPhone, you can use AirDrop. But when I'm sending things that I want to make absolutely sure they're in JPEG so I can use them in a newsletter, I email them to myself. And when you go to send it in any form, but especially in email, you go down here, you choose whatever photo you want, and this doesn't happen to be horizontal, obviously. You choose whatever you want, and down here, there's a box with an up arrow in it. That's the universal share button. So you choose that. Okay, it's going to take this photo, and now you have a choice. Are you going to AirDrop it? That just means you're going to share it to a Mac or somebody else's iPhone who's nearby. Are you going to send it in a text message? I don't want to do that. I want to send it to myself in email. So I'll click email and fill in what I want. And send it. Now I get to choose. Do I want the actual size? And you can see the difference in how large or small each one is. Actual size is 2.4 megabytes. What difference does this make? It makes a difference in resolution. The actual size will be much more detailed than any of the others. If it's just something casual, like something you're sharing with a friend, but it's never going to get published anywhere, large is just fine. So I would choose actual size if I want to use it, and it's gone. I've marked the heart on this down here at the bottom. That's how I was able to find it a little more easily than among all those photos than others. I is just for information. It gives you when did I take it, what time did I take it, what image number it is. I took it on iPhone 13. It was taken wide camera. I can't tell that with this picture, but that's what it says. And it even shows a map of where I was when I took that picture. Okay, I don't need to do that anymore. if I want to edit it or change it, if I want, let's say, to get rid of this, all this ceiling up here, if I want to concentrate on faces, if I want to get rid of the hands and the Coke can from whoever was sitting over here, this is the place. And you click on, let me show you that again. Come on. You click on this weird thing, it's 3 lines with some circles in them. I have no idea what that's supposed to stand for, but that is generally where you go when you want to make changes. Okay, what are the changes? Well, you can try them out. This auto adjust, I guess it's going to do it by itself. Filters. So I can see what else can be done. Or do I want to crop it? I'm going to move this back to the original. Do I want to crop it? Cropping it means I'm going to take one corner or the bottom or the top or one of the sides and move it. And that's going to get smaller, and you can practice with that. You can, maybe this is going to get rid of more of the ceiling. And then maybe I can move it over a little bit. So you can use that cropping tool, or you can go back to the original, discard changes, and it's back to the original. So you just play around with these things down here. Cleanup, that's this one, looks like an eraser sort of. Cleanup lets you do things. It's saying preparing cleanup, so I have to wait a minute. Tap, brush, or circle what you want to remove. Pinch to pan or zoom. Well, I'm going to try to get rid of the hand and the knee and the Coke can. So let's see how that works. So I'm going to draw a circle around it and hope it works. It worked. It's also doing something strange over here. I have no idea what that is. But it's not going to take it away unless I tap on it, I think. So it just looks like 2 guys playing around with their PlayStation. That's all it is. And nobody's sitting around drinking Coke on the sidelines. Okay? Those are the kinds of things you can do with a photo. And if you really hate the photo, then of course you can delete it down here. This helps you go from one photo to the next. Hurricane Beryl this year, lovely. And there are more photos of these guys setting up this game.
And
Okay,
just so you know, folks, that the settings on working with those photos on the iPhone, the settings are very similar also on an Android. Okay,
yeah.
so some of the icons typically look the same, like the crop icon looks the same. You know, the adjustments, those 3 lines with the dots on it, that's basically, you know, to represent sliders that you can move back and forth to adjust color and things like that. Thank you, Mark Hamari, for putting that in the chat. So although, you know, Marilyn's showing you on an iPhone, if you have an Android smartphone, it's very similar. Okay, so all those little icons down there that she showed you, they're pretty much the same, and they work the same.
Okay, and one last thing I wanted to say, if you are, let's go back here for a minute. If you're going to use this and say I'm on my phone and I want to send this photo to my computer, I can either do it through email, which is what I did. I can also AirDrop it. And I'm not going to do it because the phone is showing up on the computer right now. But AirDrop, whenever anything is AirDropped to your computer, not to your phone, but to your computer, where does it go? Where do you find it again? Well, you will find those. You click down here at the bottom, Finder. It's like the File Explorer on a PC, and it goes into downloads. I don't have anything there that I've sent from the camera lately, but that's where it would go. You click on Finder, click on Downloads, and that's where you would find whatever you airdropped to yourself. Okay? Bunch of questions. Guess we'll answer them eventually. Okay, I went through that.
Let me toss a couple questions out to you here.
Okay,
So when a photo is cropped, what remains in its place?
once you crop a photo, well, it'll stay there. You won't have the original anymore once you leave it cropped. You will only have the cropped one. The original won't be there anymore. Let me think of something I can do. If you take a photo, I'll take a screenshot. This is a screenshot that I took. And if you take a photo like this and you want to crop it so only the map shows, on a Mac, you would go into Tools. I think it's Paint on PCs that does approximately the same thing. And you would choose rectangular selection. So you choose only what you want. So I can draw this and move this down a little bit so that I'm getting only the map. And then go back to Tools and down to Crop, and all the wordiness goes away. And if I want to keep that just the way it is, no words, then I would save it. File, save. And I won't have the original anymore. But if
Now,
I,
sometimes you have the option of saving a copy. It'll ask you if you want to save a copy or, and if you think you want that original photo, I would save a copy. That way you have your original photo plus you have your cropped version. So you can always go back and delete the original if you don't want it. But I would save a copy if you are given an option. Okay, and I think that's kind of most of the questions that are coming in.
okay.
And again, we will answer all of your questions in a follow-up email. So,
Okay, screenshots, that's another topic that has come up, and they're different on iPhones than they are on Macs or iPads. And Sue is going to explain not only screenshots, but the snipping tool on PCs. So you should end up with several different ideas for how to do this kind of thing. On a phone, if you come across, let me go into one so you can see what I mean. Where did it go? Come on. It's not gonna let me go back into it. I don't want to crop it. if you go into your phone, I'm gonna have to do this without the phone, I guess. On an iPhone, you find a picture or some text or something that you want to save, and it's on your phone, you press simultaneously the up volume on the left and the right button. Okay, it's two buttons at the same time. Yeah. And if you get Siri instead, then just say, hey Siri, take a screenshot, and she'll do it. Okay, that's the way to save it. And when you take a screenshot on your phone, when you take a screenshot on your phone, they just go into photos. That's what, let me see if I can bring this back and make it. Oh, it's not gonna do that. Why isn't it letting me cancel? Cancel, cancel. Oh, well.
I love technology.
Oh, yeah, until you don't. Well, I'm gonna, well, anyway, they'll end up in photos and then you can deal with them from then. You can email them, you can airdrop them, you can save them, you can delete them, you can categorize them. So screenshots on your phone go into photos. If you take screenshots on
Remember
a,
that photo thing?
No.
pardon me?
Nothing. I had to mute them.
Okay. If you're taking screenshots on a Mac, there are three different ways. Let me see if I can bring something up. If I want to take a screenshot, let's say, of this description, because I want to take a screenshot and then be able to look at it as I type out a new description. There are three different ways. You can do Command Shift 3. If I do Command Shift 3, it'll take
Open or
the entire page.
application.
Please keep your microphones muted.
So now, and you don't see it. You can hear the click and you know you've got a screenshot of that entire page. You can control what you take in two other ways. Command Shift 4 gives you the plus sign. Everybody see the plus sign here?
Mhm.
And you just drag it, which means holding down your cursor and dragging it over what you want to take a screenshot of. And when you let go, you can hear the click and you've got the screenshot. And the third way, which is what I use 99% of the time, is Command Shift 5. And that gives me the shape of the last screenshot I took. So then all I have to do is drag the corners until I have it only the part that I want. No, I want to keep this bottom part too, so I'll keep that too. And when I've got this the way I want it, then I go down here at the bottom and click on capture, and there's that click again. So where did they all go? You go back down here to the bottom left, very bottom left, Finder, and they're all in recents. There's downloads up here, and there's recents down here, the recent things you've done. So here's a screenshot. That's the one I used before. Here's a screenshot. That's Command Shift 3. took the whole screen. Command Shift 4, when I dragged the corners and made the box. And Command Shift 5, which doesn't look much different. But that's where they show up, and they show up with screenshot and then the date and time, and you can change those if you want. So I can say division, come on. "43 description." And then I'll be able to find it again. And if that's the one I want to keep, then I can delete these two. And I have the description that I want up here. Okay, I'm looking at my notes. When you have something, let me find something interesting. When you have something saved anywhere, whether it's in recents or downloads or a document somewhere, you can open it. Come on, you can do it. And then you can annotate it in different ways. And it's not going to let me annotate a PDF, sorry. Well, I'll use this as an example. I'll annotate a screenshot. If you want to draw circles, if you want to emphasize one part of this, for example, you would use tools again, but this time you would use annotate. And then you can go in and you can draw a rectangle around something. You can draw an oval, and you can make that be a circle eventually if you mess around with it a little bit. A line, just a plain line, or an arrow, which is of course a line with an arrow at the end of it. A polygon, a star, you can add text, you can add a speech bubble, you can do all kinds of things. I usually end up using rectangle or oval or arrow. So here's a rectangle, and I've already chosen the color. It's up here. And you can change the color if you want. I'll keep it red. And I can change, first of all, I can move this arrow or this circle, and then I can make the oval whatever size I want. And when I click away, then it stays there. In order to keep that, I would have to save it. If I just exit, it won't save. So I would save it. And now it's going to always have that red oval on it. So the tools in Preview Tools, that's where you go to do a lot of interesting stuff on Macs. Okay, are there any questions that can be answered now, or should we wait until later?
Well, people are saying, can we view this later? Yes, I'm going to give you guys the link to the video, so you can view this as many times as you want. Replay, rewind, do whatever you need. And somebody asked if Command Shift is for, what's the difference between Command Shift and Control Shift?
They just do different things. There was one.
Well, Control's on PCs for the most part. We don't have Command on a PC.
If you want to save something on a Mac, you can press Command S for save. If you want a quick save on a PC, it's Control S. So Command on a Mac and Control on a PC, basically, plus whatever other numbers or letters, basically get you the same thing.
Is a Dell computer any different?
Pardon?
Is a Dell computer any different?
No,
Does everything?
It's running Windows, so it's not going to be different.
Okay.
Yeah. If anybody has a Linux, uses Linux instead of Windows, that's a whole different ballgame. I have no idea. Okay.
Okay, I think we're good.